Time of the year where it's all about the work, and guys did that, in the weight room, a good 7 weeks, and get on the football field, what they love to do. So we'll still, every other day be hitting the weights and making sure our conditioning's good, but two practices in already. So questions? There's some guys that are still limited or out, really going back to the season. So nothing new. Nothing new that's happened in practice the first couple of days. Who you got?
I don't know. I mean,
You got Zebo Latham. Will be out for the spring. You got Bray will be limited contact, just coming off of stuff from the fall. London Simmons will be out for the spring. Will Sanders will be out for the spring.
how the quarterback's looking, two practices in.
Yeah, you can tell that they've had a number of reps, from the last year under their belt. Playing with confidence, calling the play in the huddle with confidence. Both of them, light years of where they were headed a year ago, obviously, and they should be. Love, the talent level as far as that's concerned is not a question. It's just a matter of them building the rapport with their skill around them. Making the throws when they're there, feeling the timing and trust. Just feeling comfortable in the pocket, and that just comes with time, feeling comfortable with your offensive line doing the job up front. So, like what they've done through two practices, created some good explosives on their end, good feel, working the mobility when they have to. That's part of football too. It forces scramble drills and things like that. When that does come up, that helps our defense as well. So I think they're really putting a lot of pressure on our defense doing the same to them.
The turnover that you're looking at on the offensive line is high, even for the transfer portal era. Between all the new starters you need and a new offensive line coach, I mean, have you ever started from scratch with an offensive line quite like this?
Maybe not quite to that extent across the board when you talk about the coach and all the players. But you've had times where there's 3-4 starters that you have to replace. And so guys are hungry. Guys come in, they're wide-eyed, ready to learn. It creates competition. That's what you want across your team, but especially in that room. And they, really made a lot of improvements in the strength and, really excited about, you want to be excited about every guy, but excited about some certain guys in particular. And now you just got to see that translate onto the football field. And right now there's still some thinking going on. They're trying to get used to just what their job is, much less trying to get used to playing with the guy next to them and hearing those calls when the bullets are really flying. Walkthroughs are one thing, in the meeting rooms another. But now you get on the football field. So there's a learning curve that these guys will go through, but I'm excited about what Coach Clem brings and, the mindset. And that's really what you're trying to create as a football team, but especially up front, you're creating a mindset, creating an attitude here as you go through the practices.
Seems like a lot of those guys have versatility too. Are you looking for them to kind of at one spot, like depending on the guy, or are you looking at them at multiple spots, kind of mixing and matching? What's kind of plan?
Yeah, you're going to try to keep them homed in on one spot. You're right. There is some versatility with a number of guys. That's nice, but you also don't want to get fallen into the trap where you're moving guys around, and now that continuity, that familiarity that I'm talking about. It's something that you don't see, and now you're not making the strides you want. So try to get guys in spots. Try to keep it consistent here. We'll see as the weeks go on, and some of it's determined by health. We're in a good spot right now, but some of it's determined as you go through spring practices, just like in the fall. So, like where we're at, kind of got a couple lineups with guys playing spots that they can kind of get a rhythm, be comfortable playing next to each other with.
Coach, you mentioned Coach Clem. How would you assess the offensive staff additions for the first few practices of the spring and what their contributions been?
Yeah, I think. We had great coaches that were here that I really appreciate and opportunities for them to move on, which they deserve. And, just coming in, 3 guys on offense, Nix, Owens, and Clem. I think there's a mindset that they have, experience factor that they have, whether it's at this level or the NFL. And they know what it's supposed to look like. I think the thing that jumps out at me is with them in particular, is how efficient they can be. And I think the great coaches can identify something, articulate it very quickly. It makes sense to the player, not putting too much in their head, so they can play fast. But you're coaching, and that's your job. And so the players are supposed to compete and grind and refine what they're doing. They're taking it all in because they do see the expertise that these coaches have.
Coach, 2 practices in, including the fourth quarter, which incoming freshmen have stood out to you? Do you see anybody being able to contribute bigly in the fall?
Yeah, I think it's too early to just sit and pick guys up. I mean, I'm really pleased with them as a whole. I think it starts with, the way that they've built their bodies up. Some guys, and I know you guys have seen we released the weights, and some guys have put on some really good weight, and it's exciting to see that already and what that could be. Now, but especially in the fall as they continue to feel that weight and move with it, the horsepower underneath the pads when we put those on. Staff did a great job, I think, recruiting guys that can come in like we did the last 2 years that can play early. These guys are going to have to figure it out, the learning curve we talk about with being new, and get out there and be ready to compete. They get the install now, they get the install again in the summer, they get the install in the fall. And so by that time, there's a lot of guys that I know will be able to help us out.
Look like Drake or Patrick is back out there. So where does he stand? What did it take to get to that point?
Yeah, he had consequences for what he did and the things he's gone through. Still pieces to that that he's taken care of when it comes to those consequences with the team, but missed a lot of the season last year, to be able to get back in the spot where he's on the football field. But he met those requirements and, has a great attitude about him. He loves ball, and he's got to, build the trust up with his teammates out there on the football field every day that, he'll do the things not just on the field but off as well to meet the standard of what our program expects.
What have the conversations been like with Ryan Williams becoming an upperclassman, Germ leaving, and trying to fill that void at the top?
Well, Ryan, we can find someone, but just off the top of my head, he's probably played as many snaps as anyone on our offense. That's, again, the turnover that speaks to that. But, he's taken that on. He's taken on a leadership role, and in order to lead and be vocal like he has, and it's in him. And he just brings an energy and enthusiasm that you guys all see. It's nonstop. But in order to do that, you have to do the work. And he's always done the work. And I really feel like he's seeing an opportunity. He continues to raise the work, raise the level that, and be efficient in it. Because, he's always worked. But I think where he's focusing that attention, it's really intentional. And so it's great to see his leadership capabilities. Last year, I really felt like he took a great step, and now it's on another level. And so our team needs that. Our offense needs that. Yeah, no, we recruited. These guys are pretty much mostly sophomores. CJ would be, a junior, I guess, or older. And those guys were brought in for a reason because we saw the graduation of the guys that just left happening. And so they got a chance to learn last year, and now is the opportunity. Yes, they got special teams reps last year, but they got a chance to go out there now, compete, and then bringing in Caleb, who is a captain-type guy. His leadership coming in has been certainly noted and appreciated. So those guys all together, learning things together, just excited. And again, they're hungry, just like maybe other positions we're talking about, like the offensive line, where there's a lot of new faces looking for opportunities.
The spring game format coming back, is that something that your guys maybe look forward to, or you as a coach, where's your stance on that?
Yeah, I mean, we always want to scrimmage and have a great spring game. Last year, we just had 2 position groups in particular, but just we wouldn't have been able to put on a good show. We needed to get something out of the practices. Unfortunately, that was where we were at a year ago. I think we're in a different spot this year. We really haven't talked about it as a team. We're just focused on what's next. But we'd love to get out there and have some fun, practice and get better and scrimmage. That's kind of the expectation that we have for that day. Hopefully nothing crazy happens, but that's what I would expect for A-Day.
How do you plan to navigate spring practice moving forward without a spring board?
It really doesn't change. I feel like our culture, and a year ago, there was a window, and we were able to retain everyone. We coach our guys hard. I mean, that's what you have to be, and the guys will weed themselves out if it's something that they just don't want to be a part of, and that's meant to be if that's the case. And so we want the guys that want to be here, want to be coached up. The coach's job is to teach, critique, and demand. And we're going to demand excellence, the greatness out of them every single day. And so these guys. They're going to get coached hard. They want it. The portal window, it probably, if anything, gives you an ease of mind that this is your football team for the most part, whether it's guys leaving or guys coming. And, we get to work as a team to build what we want to become, and this is the time that you do that.
What have you seen, or what stands out from transfer Racing Delgado? Can you tell us about Racing?
Yeah, he's come in, really built himself up. I think the strength and conditioning program was a big part that he was excited about, and he took advantage of that. The last few weeks, you could really see him take some strides there with his strength numbers, and I think that's probably given him confidence when he steps on the football field. And again, we haven't even put pads on, and it's hard to evaluate that right now, but. Him going out there and making the calls and getting things started, that's what a center's got to do, and he's done a good job so far.
Coach, being so early in spring practice, what are you looking for from your team? You said you haven't even put pads on, but what are those little things you're wanting to see this time?
Yeah, I mean, you're always trying to build and reestablish your culture with every new team, and it doesn't matter how many guys are new. The year starts over, and so we're trying to reestablish and build on the culture that we have in place, but reestablish what this team's going to be about. You're really focusing on execution every single day, trying to get better at and repetitions. Makes us all better, and then. We'll get to situational stuff as spring goes on. We were great in those moments a year ago, but the fundamental things, and our guys need to walk away from here when we get done with the spring with an understanding of our scheme. As again, with so many new guys, that's got to be there, but also how their techniques that we're teaching apply to the opportunities and moments that they're in. And so just walking away where they can do things in the summer when they have the player run practices, continue to get better. Really have an understanding of what coaches expect.
Coach, I know you've probably spent a couple of times in the last couple of months scouting from last season to this season. What do you think you need to make the biggest improvement?
What was the first part you said?
The scouting.
Scouting?
Self-scouting.
Yeah. I think there's a couple pieces. One, you got to make sure that you continue to maintain the strengths of who you were. 2 years ago, and I don't think we were necessarily undisciplined. There was just a lot of moving pieces, and a lot of guys probably overthinking a step slow, and now you get a holding call or defensive pass interference. But we went from one of the bottom teams in the league penalty-wise to the best, and so that's got to stay a strength. Turnover margin. It still cost us at times, and the games we lost, there were turnovers, and losing that, was critical. But we didn't have the peaks and the valleys like we did the year before, and so I think we ended up fourth in the conference in turnover margin. We can still be better there. We have to be better, but we made a lot of strides. Great in the critical moments, end of the half, end of the game. A lot of games were swung at the end of the first half. A lot of games were won with our guys executing, playing fast. That's a trust and a belief. So you got to make sure those strengths are there. Execution, especially when it comes to up front and being able to run the football. I mean, I don't think there's any secret about that. We got to do a better job there. That's going to open up the rest of our offense. Defensively, we dropped a little bit in our takeaways. We still did a good job. I think we created more pressure. We want to take the next steps in that area where we can get even more pressure on the quarterback and maybe do it without having to dial up blitzes as much, and guys just winning because of their technique, because of their understanding and trust that, they got guys on the other side that are, and guys that push up the middle that can be generated to put pressure on a quarterback. Special teams is an area where we had a lot of turnover with our specialists in particular, but also the guys that were making tackles and making blocks from year 1 to year 2, 24 to 25. A lot of new faces in those areas, and so some more familiarity with guys who are out there, not just the specialists, but also The guys got to go down and cover. The guys, I think in our return games, it's an area we can definitely improve on. We had some one-off punt return and a kick return. I think about Wisconsin. I think about Oklahoma, where there was a punt return and a kick return where we fell short. We were pretty solid other than that, but it's those one plays here and there that we can't give up. So just taking those next steps in all those areas, making sure that our strengths are what they are, is kind of really what you're honing in on, and making sure you never take anything for granted.
You lose a lot of production at that bandit position. Just who are some guys who are maybe?
Yeah, I think the Bandit and Wolf, that gets you up about position flex. We talked about offensive line. I think there's some guys actually at the Bandit Wolf spot. Yanze, you guys will see when you see him. Maybe you've seen him out in public, but he's built himself up and continues to get better. I think he's got some position flex now, which is going to allow guys like Justin Hill, and different combinations, personnel packaging on the field. Dez coming in. I know I'm going to miss some guys, even DT, Devin being able to play inside and outside, so it isn't always just Wolf Bandit. But those guys, those guys have body types and skill sets that I think are going to allow our defensive staff to I don't know, have fun, but put them in positions to go cut it loose and get after people.
Kalen, when you look at
one more. Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
When you look at approaching this year with last year's scholarship limit, this year with more of a roster limit, what does that look like in terms of front office? I know you guys brought in quite a few like walk-ons and things like that, and there's still some spots to save for guys who not quite here yet. What does that look like?
The scholarship I think you're referring to, it was 85 limit. Now there's more, and so you're trying to build an overall roster, right? Because you got to practice. It isn't just about the high end guys that are on the football field making plays. It's guys that can compete and be ready when their number's called, can push those guys, but also you gotta build you're always trying to bring up your floor too, and whether that's young guys or new guys or just guys that raising your level, it makes your program better altogether. And so I think there's been a really good job by our staff of continuing to not just look at the starters and try to increase and improve there, but also our bottom part of our roster and trying to bring that up to lift our entire team. So I appreciate what our staff's done, not just focused on the stars and the guys that have transferred in, those ones, but also those twos and threes, and walk-ons are a huge part of what we do, whether it's practice reps and looks and scouts, or just the culture of your program. And so really proud of these guys that have stayed. They're proud of the guys that have come in and been fighting. They make up. That's what makes a great football team. Thank you, guys.